Yes! Yes, yes, yes. So, module 5. Module 5. Can you believe it's already module 5? We only have 2 more modules to go after this one because we only have 7 modules. Oh my gosh. So we're on module 5. We're starting module 5 today. Hello. Hey, Sandra. Yes, we are in place. Okay, so today is all about writing. And I know it felt like, oh my gosh, Ebony, we have been working and doing all this stuff, and it felt like college. And I got all this stuff done, though I got my blog up and I got my domain together, and I know who my ideal client is, and I know what I'm going to offer them. And like, man, I got an opt-in offer for them, and I'm developing landing pages, and I'm just, oh my gosh. So just think about all the work that you've done just in the last 5-6 weeks. And for some of you, it may have been more work than you've ever done before, right? Now, if you've worked with me before, then some of this you've already done because I believe in putting you in action, right? But just think about all that you have accomplished in just a little over a month, okay? And you will probably like trying to figure out, okay, what does all this have to do with being a speaker? It has everything to do with being a speaker, because speaking is not just about getting up on a stage and delivering a message. Okay, speaking starts at the very beginning. Where do we start? With branding. What is it that you want to say with your brand? And so I'm excited to finally get to the place where we're talking about writing your speech. You can't see me. Okay. Can Erica and Shawana, can you see me? Okay. We are now about the business of actually crafting a speech. Now, you may have crafted a speech before. You may have written one before. Okay. And that's great. That's fine. Okay. I'm going to show you the way that I put together my speeches, the way that I was taught, the way that I learned from Lisa Nichols. Okay, good, Erica. The way that I learned, and because I should say, because I know it works, because I know it is a very comprehensive process, I want to share it with you. Now, if you have not downloaded the action guide for Module 5, make sure that you download it. And in there, I talk specifically about what public speaking is, about being transparent, about being willing to be vulnerable, and all those good things, okay? But we're not going to center in on that tonight because I want to have this actual content, the content of your speech conversation. Now, it's broken down in the action guide, but I wanted to kind of put some meat on the outline, on the bones, as it were. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about your core messaging, and good, Sandra. We want to discuss your core messaging, and we're going to talk about the 5 components of a great speech. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And I'm gonna pull my phone, because if you cannot see the PowerPoint, or if the slides do not advance, I need for somebody to inbox me and let me know. Okay, so Erica, I'm going to give you that job. Okay, inbox me in the event that you cannot see the presentation when I actually show it. Okay, all right. So of course, as you know, this is Converse Speakers Academy. We are more than halfway done. Oh my gosh. I shared with those who were in the session. I keep saying today for some reason. I shared with those who were in the session last week that I have decided to go ahead and put together a certification piece for those who are interested. Originally, the beta launch or beta version of CSA was not supposed to include certification. But because the great majority of you have been, showing up, working hard, like you have been putting in time, talent, muscle, like you have been doing the doggone thing. And I said, you know what? if nothing else, some of you guys deserve the opportunity to take the test, pass the test, do the whole certification thing, right? And be a certified all-star speaker. So my plan is over the Labor Day weekend to go ahead and put all those components together. But you need to make sure if you plan on going for certification and being a certified public speaker, a certified all-star speaker through Converse Speakers Academy, you need to make sure that you have done everything, including the video from the pre-work. Okay? You have to have done all of the curriculum in order to take the test and successfully pass it, because it is a cumulative test, meaning the test is going, I'm probably giving too much information, but the test is going to cover everything from the very beginning. Okay, so because it's comprehensive, you want to make sure that you have completed everything. Okay, that's going to be the requirement, part of the requirements actually. So here we go. We are on module 5, crafting your signature speech, and I'm so excited, yes, about this part. Okay, so let's talk about your core message. Okay, when you hear me talk about core message, we hit on this at the very beginning, talking about branding. Okay, your core message, I'm not talking about a particular speech. Like, okay, I have this speech and this speech and this speech, and you know, the signature one or my main one is my core message. It's the one that I give all the time. I'm not talking about that. Okay, your core message is your fingerprint. Okay, it is released out of the essence of your brand, which again is why we had to go through all that conversation about who your brand is, your the personality, like all of that had to be filtered out and deciphered and gotten clear on before we ever start to write a speech. Okay, so your core message is your fingerprint. You can see, people can see you in everything. Now, I'm not talking about just getting up on a stage. I'm talking about in every blog post, every time you're on a telesummit. And Erica, by the way, that was a great idea for all of you, for all CSA members to be a part of a telesummit. And I want to talk more with you about that. I think that's a great idea, but only for those who are doing the work, not for like everybody who's in CSA, because everybody who's in CSA is not doing the work. Okay, so just saying. Okay, so I'm talking about telesummit. I'm talking about your blog posts, radio interviews. Anytime your voice is being heard, books that you write or that you have written, anytime your voice is being heard, we should hear your core message. It is the common thread of your brand. Okay, your core message is the common thread of your brand. Okay, when you hear me speak, you hear me talking about making money and making impact, right? I just recently actually coined it as such, but from the very beginning, even when my conversation was primarily about revenue streams, that was all about making money in order to be able to make impact in your community, in your life, in the people who you love, in their lives. Okay, so the core of my conversation, at the core of me, right, is all about money and impact. Being able to have a life, creating a life that has options, that has no ceiling, no cap. Okay, that is the common thread of my brand. Doesn't matter what we're doing, doesn't matter what the venue is, the conversation is the same. For Women Ignited, you got to get in action. You got to start doing stuff. You got to start making things happen. Why? Because there's money to be made and there's impact to be made. That's the why of it. Okay, so let's talk about, I want you to ask yourself 4 questions. Okay, and take good notes because these are not in your action guide for this module. So take good notes and think this out. I want you to write down 3 to 5 things for each question. Okay? So, first thing, how do you want people to feel when you speak and or coach? How do you want people to feel when they're sitting in their seat, when listening to you, when they are in one of your sessions, your seminars, your talks, your trainings, when they are reading your book? How do you want people to feel? Do you want them to be inspired? Do you want them to be motivated? Do you want them to be convicted, informed, maybe feel a little fear? How do you want people to feel? Okay? Now, I don't want you to be all over the place with this. You need to be laser. You need to get laser. I want 3. For this one, I want 3. 3 emotions that you want your audience to feel when you speak. Again, that's in books, that's in blogs, that's in talk radio interviews, podcast interviews, speeches, seminars. When you're coaching, how do you want people to feel? Okay, for me, I want people to feel a little uncomfortable. I want them to feel dissatisfied with their current state. And I want them to feel a little convicted, because that will drive them to do something differently. In order to create money and impact, you can't do the same thing that you've been doing, because apparently that hasn't been working. So when I'm speaking, I want to give my audience a charge. Now I can already do that just because of the tone of my voice. My voice carries. So for me, it's not difficult anyway in order to give people a charge, a shot. Okay? I want them to feel like, she's all on my toes right now, because I want you to do something about that. Okay? So how do you want people to feel? How do you want them to feel? I want you to write that down. You should have your action guide with you with some paper in there. I want you to write that down. 3 things, just 3, because I don't want you to be all over the place. Because you might say, well, everything, I want to feel all that. I want to feel inspired, motivated, convicted, informed, and a little bit fearful. That's too many. No. Think about your target audience. Okay, because your target audience may not necessarily need to be informed. I think about Sandra's audience. One of the things that she definitely needs them to feel is informed, because of the conversation that she wants to have with them. At the same time, she may also want them to feel a little fear, because listen, if you don't change your habits, here's what's probably going to happen, or here's what could happen. Right? But my audience doesn't necessarily need to feel a little fear. Conviction, yes. Dang, I ain't doing nothing. It's so much more I could be doing. You know what? I believe Ebony can help me. I'm going to work with her. I want them to feel a little bit of conviction, a sense of urgency is what I want for them to have. Okay? So I don't want you to be all over the place. I don't want you to think and say, well, I want them to feel all that. No, I want you to get laser focused, and I want you to pick 3. Okay? The second question, what do you want your audience to do differently, or how do you want them to think differently? Now we're talking about action. And you guys know that is my platform. That's my platform all the way around. You cannot sit on information. You cannot sit on your genius. That's my platform all the way around. So you're going to write down 3 to 5 actions. 3 to 5 actions that when your audience does them, you can say, they got it. They got it. I've done my job. Doggone it. They got it. Okay? I have some. I want them to confront the limiting beliefs about money. I definitely want my audience to confront that, to have that conversation with themselves, and then do a 180. I want them to own their greatness. Okay, now these are my examples that I got, so you can't use mine. I want you to think your own examples. All right, I want them to look in the mirror and see their beauty. What do you want your audience to do differently, or how do you want them to think differently? Remember, it's about transformation. All speeches transform audience realities. That is our goal. As transformational speakers, that is our goal. Now, it's going to take some vulnerability, and we'll talk about that in a second, because you have to be willing to tell your story. But at the same time, you have got to make sure that you are able to identify the end result, the action that you want your audience to take, the action that will get them to that next level of transformation. Okay? Next question. What do you want your audience to say about you? Okay? Now, for some people, this is difficult because you kind of, in a way, have to almost like toot your own horn, in a way, right? And for some people, that's hard because it feels boastful, and it feels a certain type of way. But you have to get used to being the center of it all, because the solution is in and with you. And now you are being charged with disseminating the solution. So you have to get used to being the center. Right? When I'm traveling and doing events and stuff, I have my team who comes with me, and I'm still like, they're like, okay, listen, you need a room by yourself. You need a travel day ahead, a travel day after, because you got to get centered. You are delivering the content. You got to get centered, and they don't let people get near me before the event. They're like, nope. Just this past weekend, I was at Panama City Beach, and they were like, I was trying to help, like, set up and stuff. Go to your room. Bye. Like, go away. Go, and because why? I am the center of it. I have to deliver. And for me, I have to hear from the Spirit of God to make sure that what I'm doing is on point for what the people there are going to need. So you have to get used to that, because you have to write the story of what they will say every time you hit the stage. Every time. Now, fortunately, in my experience, it has been across the board. It's been the same conversation. People say the same type of words. Powerful. That's like it's like everybody like get together in a huddle and say, okay, we are gonna say powerful at the end. It's like everywhere I go, that one word always comes out. Powerful. Okay? Engaging is another one. Okay? Transparency, authenticity, two other ones. And I strive for that. Then I hear words like anointed. So what do you want your audience to say about you? And you need to determine that, because that's going to help to focus your demeanor, help to focus how you project, all of that. All of that. Do you want them to say that you are authentic, that you are transparent, that you're generous with your time, with your content, that you're edgy? I kind of want my audience to say I'm edgy, but I don't think I'm really edgy. I think I'm just like super real, like in your face, like, nah, This is how it is. Like, but I don't think that's edgy though. I put edgy there, but I don't think I'm edgy. I want to be edgy. I gotta work on my thug life. Okay. Humble. What do you want people to say about you? You need to write down 3 to 5 attributes. Okay. Then the final question, not question, but final thought, fill in the blank basically. As a result of people crossing my path, their life is better because, what is that? What is that? Their life is better because, and it does not need to be the solution that you intend to deliver. You need to be talking about them as a person. Why is their life better? Do they have peace of mind? Have they gotten the charge or the springboard or the catalyst that they need to repair their relationships? Like, think about personal. It does not need to focus. This particular one does not need to focus on the result that you are delivering. Why? Because your audience has given you the one thing that we can't get back. Is their time. That's the one commodity that we cannot get back. We cannot get our time back. So you owe them in a way. We owe our audience because they have made the decision to come and exchange their time for whatever content you have that is supposed to deliver them to their next level of transformation. So give them more. Give them more than what they bought, paid for. If it's a paid event, give them more than what they bargained for. Over deliver. Lay it on thick. Absolutely. Hug on the people. Pray with them. Like, you really want to just really give them more. Think about events or people that you've heard, you've listened to, telesummits and watched on webinars and stuff, and think about the deficit that there may have been. When you walked away, how did you feel? And was there something else that you wanted to feel? Was there something else that you were expecting in terms of how that speaker related to you? Okay? Now think about the deficit. And when you think about the deficit, think about how you can avoid it. Think about how you can fill in that gap. What could you do? Absolutely. What could you do? I've gone to events where the speaker was like hidden until it was time for that person to actually come out and speak. I've been to other events where the speaker walked, mingled, talked to people, shook hands. And when I think about those two things, when I think about the person who doesn't come out, like, I really have a hard time with that. And my team asks me to do that sometimes, and I have a hard time with that, and I don't always do it. I just this past weekend I didn't. I was in the room. But when I think about the deficit, I say, well, you know, if I were in the audience, I would want, I totally get the preparation piece. I totally get that, being centered and all that good stuff. But I asked myself, if I were in the audience and that were me, I would want, especially if I didn't know the speaker for real, you know what I'm saying, or I wanted to get to know them, I would want to have them out shaking hands, taking pictures, kissing babies, giving hugs, that kind of thing. I would feel like that person cared about who was in the room, right? So, me as a speaker, that's what I want to do. I want the people in the room, the people on the call, the people watching the webinar, the people reading my book. I want them to know that I care. That I care about you as a person. That I care about you as an entrepreneur, but as a woman, as a person who wants more in life, as a person who has a lot of commitments and is juggling a lot of things. I want you to know that I totally get that. And I'm here for you. And that has nothing to do with the money at impact conversation, but it has everything to do with it. Because even you have exchanged your time and your money for this content. So I had to over deliver. I had to give you more than what you were paying for. Absolutely. Right. And this is a speaking engagement. Okay? It's one that I created. It's a platform that I created, but it is indeed a speaking engagement. Okay? All right. So we got our four core message questions. I've had 5 fingers, Lord. Our 4 core message questions. Okay? These are going to be written down. You write them down in your action guide. And if you haven't already, go ahead and do them. Okay? All right? Now, here we go. 5 steps to produce powerful speeches. Okay? Now, again, this is the meat on the bones. So by the time you put this together with the content in the action guide, you're going to be so bad. Woo! You're going to be so bad. Okay. 5 steps to produce powerful speeches. First thing, think about what are your stories? What are your stories? Okay. Make a list of the stories you could draw upon when crafting your speech. Now, remember your audience, who you're talking to. Okay. In my life, I have several stories. Oh my gosh. Okay. It depends on the audience. It depends on the conversation that I'm having. Right. But because I have committed to living a transformational, not transformational life, a transparent life, I don't mind telling my story. I told them over the weekend in Panama City Beach, I told them that one of the reasons why I don't mind telling my stories is because that way nobody has anything on me. The enemy can't use nothing against me because everybody already know my business. And so not only does me telling my stories and being transparent and authentic and vulnerable help me to get people free, it also helps me to maintain my freedom. Those stories don't have a hold on me anymore. So I can tell about filing bankruptcy. I can tell about being left at the altar. I can tell about having to give my house back. You know, all the bankruptcy, that whole thing. I can tell about my mom not speaking to me for 6 years. I can tell about my dad finding me on Facebook 3 years ago. I had no idea who he was before then. How I grew up thinking another man was my father. I can tell these stories. So what are your stories? And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a list of the stories that you can draw upon. You got a lot of stories. And when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, I do. Now, the question is, are you willing to share those stories? That's the thing. That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And if you're not at the point where you're okay with sharing them, that it is what it is. But just know that if you want to get to the place where you are ushering people into that next level of transformation, You have to be willing to be vulnerable, which means you got to tell your story. You have to be willing, and I talk about Lisa Nichols' dip theory in the action guide. I have that in there. You have to be willing to walk people into your lowest point and take them down with you, but not stay. Bring them back up with you to your overcoming point. Okay? So what that does is it allows people, because you're here. Okay? You're here. Your audience is here. Okay? You are presenting to them their next level. So somewhere in between here, if it's not all the way to where you are, it's somewhere in here, in this gap, in this chasm. Okay? Your job, you are charged with showing them how to get from where they are, which is where you were, to where they need to be. And in that process, you are letting them know, I know how you feel. I've been where you've been, but I did not stay there, and you cannot either. Here is how you get to your next. Here is how you get to your next. And the only way that you can effectively do that is by telling your story. So now here's the crossroads. Are you willing to do that? And I'm not necessarily all the time talking about the clean version. Now, be careful. And there's like some conversation kind of in the industry right now about this. You don't want to emotionally vomit all over your people. You don't want to do that, right? So you don't have to. Here's the key to that, to me. Here's how I manage it when I'm speaking, okay? It is a dip. It's not a walk through the valley of the shadow of death kind of thing. It is a dip. So you hit it and you come on back up. If you're in the dip more than 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you're starting to err on your people. Okay? That's far too long. And you have to make sure that you don't leave them in your dip, but you still holding their hand, you walk them all the way back out into what freedom from this thing looks like, into what the solution looks like. Okay? Now, give each story a title that makes sense to you and triggers that story in your mind. So as you're writing out your story, you're going to give each one a title. Okay? Real Daddy. I'm trying to think like my title. Real Daddy. Mama's gone. No, Mama left me. Mama left me. Real Daddy. Mama left me. Failure is the one that's like the big one that I mostly tell. Okay? The car accident. I talk about that. Left at the altar. Stood up for prom. No, prom night. That's called prom night. Prom night. Left at the altar and prom night go together when I talk about rejection. I can't remember what I said. I can't remember. I've already said it, so hopefully you took good notes. So I said all that to say that is how you name or title rather your story. So you give it a title and just kind of jot like some bullet points as to the major points of that story. Okay, that's 1 and 2. Then write your speech using the story content format. Okay, now when I say content, I'm talking about the major points that you want people to walk away with. Those things that we might say are tweetable. Okay, the major points. Okay, my pastor calls calls his, for example, his thesis statement. And everything points to that thesis statement. It's the same thing with you. Whether you have 5 minutes or 50 minutes, what is that piece of content, or what is that suite of content that you need for your audience to walk away with? If you got 5 minutes, it's just 1 point. If you got 50 minutes, it might be 3 or 4 points. But what is that point? Okay, that's your content piece. Then the story is what you made a list of. So you got your content statement, then you got a story, and your next content statement. Or better say it, you have your content statement, you have your overall conversation that you're having, right? Your overall, whatever your title is, whatever you're there for, speaking, wherever it is, whatever your book is, you have your overall concept, right? Then from that overall concept, you have content pieces. So say, for example, your first content piece, your second content piece, that both point back to the overall message, okay? You have these two content pieces. In the middle, you have a story that bridges the two, okay? Then you have your other content piece over here. You have a story that bridges the two, okay? So, for example, in my chapter in Fabulous New Life, it's called the F word, and I'm talking about failure. And the story, I had 2 stories in that one. I told the story about the car accident, and I told the story about the financial failure, okay, or financial oblivion, financial oblivion story. Okay, so first thing, you know what? I don't have a book handy, do I? So I can just, I want to make sure I say specifically what I put. Do I have a book handy? Let me see. It would be so sad if I don't, but I don't think I do. I think they're still in the car from the weekend because I sold some over the weekend. Oh, I got my copy up here. Okay. No, this is an impromptu moment right here. Okay. So, I think I'm 147. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm sooner than that. Okay. 143. Okay, so my first piece of content was the quote that I had from Mark Twain. The 2 most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. Okay? That's the first piece of content that I want people to understand and to see. And so, in the paragraphs right after that, I am talking about, I'm telling the story of the car accident in order to help my reader understand that it was the car accident that helped me to wake up and realize that I didn't know why I was here. I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to be doing. I was born, I had been born, but I didn't know why. Okay? And then, so from there, I go to conversation about discovering that or thinking I discovered it, going into all of that. Then I talk about, well, I have life lessons. And so the next life lesson is smart people save for the expected and the unexpected. So now I'm speaking to my entrepreneurs, sure enough now, because there I'm talking about how we weren't really prepared to do this. We were able to because we borrowed money. But financially, on the personal side, we didn't have enough savings at all to do anything, really. So I learned that going from understand, okay, now I'm going to pursue this thing, but I'm ill prepared. Okay, do you see how the story is coming together? So I figure out my why. I'm running toward it, but I'm ill prepared. Okay, then it says it's not enough for a man to know how to ride. He must also know how to fall. That's a Mexican proverb, and every time I think about that, it speaks to me so clearly. Because just like success comes, so will failure. They both are events. This is a sidebar, I guess, but I guess it's for somebody. They both are events. They're not who you are. I'm not a success. Success happens to me and for me and around me. And that's important to understand, because sometimes people can internalize, I'm a success, but then when something don't work out, now I'm a failure, and that's a lie. Failure as well is an event that has happened to you, around you, but you yourself are not a failure. And so that's the conversation I'm having. That's what I want the reader to understand, is that just like you know how to ride the horse, you got to know how to fall off that mug too. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when I say content, story, content. Content, story, content. The story connects the two pieces of content, and it just flows. It flows. Okay, so the third step, write the content exactly as you would say it, like a script. Okay, just write it out exactly how you would say it, with all your inflections and everything, how you would say it. Then you write the story that bridges that content pillar to the next content. I just explain that. You write the story. So in your action guide, you have space for this. So after you do your powerful opening, that's in the action guide. After you do your powerful opening, you go right into your first content piece. Okay? You got your content piece, you elaborate on it, then tell the story that connects that with your next content piece. Write that content piece out, and it keeps going just like that, from pillar to pillar. Do as many content and story sections as you need for your speech. However, again, if you have 10 minutes, you don't need 3 points. You only need 1. Okay, now my suggestion, because you may be somewhere, you might be at Women Ignited, and I say, Erica, give us 5 minutes of content right quick, please. And you can't be like Brown, me? You want me to say something? You can't be like that. You have to be ready. And you've heard it before. When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So imagine you're at this big event, this huge event, and a speaker gets sick. And they say, Shawana, can you stand in for so-and-so speaker, so-and-so famous person, whoever. Can you stand in for them right quick? Need about 10 minutes while we get the next person ready. What you gonna do? You can't say, well, no, I'm not prepared. I don't have a speech written. You already know the one thing that you want people to know. You already know at least one way that they can get there. Once you have those 2 pieces, put a story in the middle, and you always have a speech, period. Because from there, all you have to do is elaborate and expound on the thought. Isn't that sexy? You know the one thing that you want everybody to know, based on your message, your core messaging, your brand, all of that. The one thing you know from all of your suite of solutions, you know at least one thing, one step, one action they can take to get to what you're talking about. And you should have at least one story that connects the two. So if I call you up in October, you should be ready. Because now you know how to craft a powerful speech. Yay! Okay, now here's how it looks. Okay, the flow. You go from content into a story, that connects the next piece of content into a story that connects the next piece of content, and then you have your powerful close. Most of the time, you're going to have 3 points and 2 stories. Most of the time. On average, when you're speaking, it is around 45 minutes to an hour. I'll say 30 minutes to an hour. That gives you time for 3 pieces of content, 3 points, and 2 stories. That gives you time for that. So notice the interconnectedness of it. And when you hear great speakers, you aren't even cognizant of the change. Like you aren't even cognizant of a break. Because there isn't any. There's no break. Each thing flows. And that's exactly what you want to happen. From opening to close. Now we talk about powerful opening in the action guide. We talk about powerful closing. You can open with a joke. You can open with a saying. You can even come in like I like coming in on music. I like doing that, and just getting loud. What's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's my personality. And for me, it's rare now that I'm nervous, but if there's even a little bit there, getting loud right from the beginning breaks all that up. Like I'm good after that. Like after I done danced in and all that, I'm good. I'm good after that, right? In closing, you can close with a quote. You can open with a quote, actually. You can close with a joke. You can close. There are several different ways that I listed in the action guide. Several different ways, okay? A lot of times I close with a thought. Like my broadcast, I say, until next time, live like you matter, because guess what? You do. And so that being the last thing my listener has heard from me, my prayer is that that's exactly what they're doing. They're thinking about the fact that, man, I do matter. I do matter. So I need to probably be doing a little bit more than what I'm doing. Right? When I'm on a stage, I sometimes say, my name is Ebony L. Trust, and I approve this message. Just because I just like saying that. It don't really, But most everything I say, I try to make it catchy so that people will remember it. That's why my L became sexy. That was the only reason why. There was no other reason other than now granted, I really do feel like when people say their middle initial, it just does something to your name that just makes it just pop, just like it just, I don't know, it just, like my students on their nameplates, I put their middle initials. It's something that just makes it just, to me, So Ebony L Trust as opposed to Ebony Trust, it just pops to me. But the reason why I started saying, and you must say the L because it is sexy, is because that sticks with people. I can't go anywhere now without somebody saying either Ebony L or saying, hey, Ebony L, or saying Ebony L because the L is sexy. Now, they don't always say it right. But, and I actually had the opportunity, I went to one of Zenobia Andrews' event. It's been about a year ago, maybe, and I had the opportunity to speak in the front. And I did my opening like I always do. My name is Ebony L. Trust, and you must say the L because it is sexy. And it was several months later, there was a young lady who was there. She was hosting something, and she put out a call for speakers. And so I inboxed her, and I said, hey, I'm interested, basically. And she inboxed me back, and I didn't realize she had been at the same event. And she was like, I remember you. The L is sexy. You're Ebony L. And I'm like, get out of Dodge. And so because she remembered me and my content and stuff, I got to speak at the event. So make sure that everything that you do is intentional, including everything that you say, everything that you write is intentional. Nothing should be haphazard. You should always be expecting that somebody who is within your ideal client range, your target audience, is listening to you or will have access to what you've written. You want to always, always, always make that assumption. Always. So whatever it is, however it is, don't make it be haphazard. Make it be original. Make it be something that is like with your openings and your close. Make it be things that are natural to you, right? So, for example, if Erica were doing an introduction, she wouldn't say, my name is Erica C. Johnson, and you must say the C because it's sexy. Because that's not her, right? That's not something that she would necessarily think to say. So it's going to come across inauthentic and fake if she tries to do that. So don't, I really, really, really want to, because sometimes in speaking, there's kind of like this pressure to look like a certain person, to have mannerisms like this person because they're famous, to have the exact same content as this person because they're famous, and whatever the case may be. No, just be you. You are enough. Being you is enough. Your stories are enough. Your content is enough. Like, period. So however it is you intend to approach it is great. Just make sure that it's unique to you and that it has your fingerprint. There is nobody like you. Nobody else has your fingerprint, which means your content, your core messaging has to have your fingerprint and who you are wrapped around it. Okay? All right. Any questions? Questions. I'm going to stop sharing. And come back here. She said, dip, baby, dip. Yay! Wow. Okay, so Sandra said it happened to her. She ended up on the panel and it was not planned. But I know Sandra and I know she stage ready. Okay, I see questions. All right. I don't know how to get chat. You always over deliver. I just love you. Thank you, Shawana. Thank you. You know what, Shawana? I used to say get to know me, but get to know me kind of made its rounds among other people. And it was like almost everybody was saying it. So I just kind of was like, nah, I'm just going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. But it was fun while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted. I liked the whole Ebony L. For a long time, I said boom. But I think in a way, okay, Erica, I think in a way, I've kind of outgrown boom. I don't know why. But I stopped saying it because I kind of felt like I had outgrown it. And so I like the Ebony L. I do. I like the Ebony L. It's me. I mean, it really is. It's me. It's my personality. It jives with who I am. Cracking jokes, that jives with who I am. If you're a very serious person and you get up and start cracking jokes, it probably won't go over well, right? But because people expect, my audience expects me to interject some humor in there somewhere. That's the expectation that my audience has, because that's my personality. That's who I am. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? So there again, you want to make sure that you are authentic all the way around, that you are the same person on the stage. I'm sorry, that you are the same person on the floor walking around as you are on the stage. That you are the same person in the hotel room as you are on the stage. That you are the same person in your house as you are on the stage. It has to be 360 of authenticity, and you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Now, I'm glad that I over-deliver. Thank you, Shawana. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that, because that's my goal. I really want to. And there are times when I feel like I over-deliver. Like it's like, okay, goodness, just stop, you know. But hey, amen. Okay. Any questions? Yeah. So I wasn't exactly in the action guide, Sandra. So I don't, let me see what page 6 is. Page 6, page 6, page 6. Oh, the 7 steps. I kind of put meat on the 7 steps when I did this. I did around about step 4. Because the first part kind of just kind of like regular, you know what I'm saying? But I know I kind of felt like at the point that it was time to start writing actually crafting the wording of your speech, that there were going to be people who got stuck. Okay, good, Sandra. There'll be people in CSA who got stuck on the content of it, and they would be panicking about that. So I wanted to be proactive and make sure that I broke that down in a way that made complete sense, and that made it easy for you to picture what it is you needed to do. Okay, so Erica asks, should you have a 5, 10, and 45-minute version of your speech? I love that question, Erica, and I think that is plenty appropriate. Because again, the 45-minute speech can have 3 points and 2 stories. You could do a 10, 30, and 45. So the 45 could be 3 points and 2 stories. The 30 can be 2 points and 1 story, and the 10 can be 1 point and 1 story. So you always got them stories in your back pocket, always. And another thing, don't feel like that just because you have built a brand around one conversation that you can't have the others. Because again, your fingerprint is on all of it, right? So if you think about it, really, you can make it work. When I talk about rejection, when I talk about being left at the altar, when I talk about being stood up for prom, when I talk about my mom not speaking to me for 6 years, all of those feed into that rejection, right? That spirit of rejection that was trying to hold me, right? All of that speaks to that. Well, that helps to frame your money story. When you're dealing with things like rejection, you don't want to tell people how much you charge, what the investment is, because you think they're going to reject you. They aren't going to accept it. And if they say no, if they don't sign the contract, if they don't pay, if they don't do whatever, then you take it personally. You can put those two together, money and impact and rejection, all day long. And I got my stories to bridge it. So just remember that just because you're leading with a certain conversation, that does not mean that you cannot have another one based on the stories that you have lived. It is my intention that you share every single story, because that way they cannot hold you hostage anymore. Not saying they are, but in the event that they are, or you have 5, but 2 of them you still trying to work through, or whatever, you still have a hard time with those are the ones you need to tell and teach people to overcome, because in your telling, you will overcome. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are here in the action guide. You're going to see, I saw this quote, and I think everybody in CSA is familiar with April Frank Hunt, but she had posted this a while back. I can't even remember where I saw it, but in your action guide, I talk about vulnerability, on page 5, I have a meme there of one of her quotes. It says, master, the compelling narrative story of your own life. Speaking is about the right people connecting to your story. That connection creates the space for them to give you permission to change their life. And that is a huge responsibility. But it is one that, as a speaker, you have chosen to embrace. So it is incumbent upon us as public speakers to be willing to be vulnerable. Because it's not about being weak. It took me the longest time to understand that. And I had to learn that even in my house with my husband. Because I grew up so independent. I didn't have a dad. My mom worked 2 jobs and went to school, sometimes 3 jobs. I was a latchkey kid. I helped watch my brother, my younger brother. So I've always been a person of my own thought. I've always been a person who was able to plan and make stuff happen. So now I'm in a marriage, and I'm supposed to share the load. I'm supposed to be team trust. I'm just making stuff happen. And my husband like, okay, well. So now we're living, a married couple, as single individuals. I had to learn how to say, okay, no, I'm going to let him handle this. Even if it's not the way that I would do it. And if the ship go down, I got to go down with the ship. Now, it ain't going down, but just for sake of this conversation, right? So vulnerability is not about being weak. It is about everybody realizing their power and walking in it. And I realize my power when I understand that my stories don't hold me, and that my stories can also get you free. How powerful is that? And so when I do that, I have people say powerful. I said that several slides ago. If I don't get any other comment, it is always powerful. That needs to be your testimony too. So you have to be willing. I know it's not easy. I know it's not, Erica. I know it's not, but it's not complicated. It's not complicated. It's not easy, but it's also not complicated. And so I think about, again, I mean, it is, here's the thing. It's better for me to tell it than somebody else to. Nah. It's better for me to tell it than somebody else to. Right? When I think about my left at the altar story, it's better for me to tell that than homeboy who left me at the altar. Because I ain't gonna tell him what he gonna say, and it's probably gonna be a lie. Right? So it's better for me to tell it than for him to say anything, wherever he is now. So just consider that. And when you tell it, there again, what's most important, when you tell it, the enemy can't hold it over here anymore. Well, if they find out, you know, that you filed bankruptcy, they ain't gonna pay to be in your coaching program. If they find out that you had to give your house back and you were on food stamps, they ain't gonna come to your live event. Who want to hear somebody who's been through that? When in reality, I have had people who have become a part of my one-on-one mentorship program at $2,000 because I said I filed bankrupt, because I told the truth of that. Come on, the devil is a lie. The wristbands. Okay, so the wristbands are actually the creation of one of my clients. And she actually goes to church with me. And these are she does shirts, like different products that hammer home the points of our pastor's messages. So this one says Fighting the Good Fight of Faith. It's a series that he just got finished doing. This one is I Am Richly Well, one thing that he told us to say when folks ask how you're doing. And this one is I'm in great expectation, because he had released his faith for some stuff, and so she adopted that and wanted to give people the opportunity to adopt that as well. If we've released our faith for something, then it's our job to be in great expectation of that thing. So I wear these to remind me of those things and to support her. And she'll be at Women Ignited selling some too. Yay! Any other questions? Was this good? Was it good? Let me know in the comments. Yes, Shawana. Yes. You found the comment, Shawana. Yay! Shawana found the comment. Good job. Okay, good. All right, good stuff. I promise I will not take forever to put this in the online classroom this time. I finished up last week and then went right into preparations for the weekend, and I totally forgot. And so I think you guys get an alert. Oh, okay, good. Okay, Shawana, cool. Okay. I think you guys get an alert whenever I add something to the course. So if you do, then you saw that the MailChimp is there. The MailChimp 101 is there. And I also added last week's module, the video portion or the webinar portion of the module. All right. Good stuff. So I'm glad it was good and it served you well. So now it's time to get crack-a-lacking. And in the group, I'm going to tell you, once you have your signature speech written, what you're going to do with it. Yes. Mwah. So until next time, do what I'm going to say. Live like you matter, because guess what? You do. And your stories do too.